Hi, my name is Maria and this is my channel, Maria Might Read That, and today we are goal setting my August TBR. If you missed my first kind of goal setting TBR video, I'll link it down below. Essentially, I did goal setting for my July TBR, which was me setting up different categories of goals that I would like to kind of make sure that I continue to focus on, and then assigning books, kind of like an MBR for each category, so that in each month I'm progressing on these goals. It's just a way essentially to get me to be a little bit more intentional with my reading while still giving me room to kind of mood read and play around. The goals categories are as follows. We have one book off of my top priority list for the year. We have one book off of my physical TBR. We have one book that is a mood read, one book that is a commitment read, and one book that is a series continuation. It doesn't have to be one book per each category. It can overlap a little bit, but essentially what I'm aiming for here is to check off each category with the books that I read in a month and kind of keep progressing on these specific goals. It seems to be working really well for me, at least for the 1 month that I've tried of it, so I'm continuing it on here with August. And before we get into the books that I'm kind of goal setting for August, let's just do a quick recap of how I did with July. I did manage to check off each category or goal, but it wasn't necessarily one book per each goal, if that makes sense. Some of them had a little bit of overlap, but I did manage to complete all of them. There's one that I'm a little bit, I feel like I could do better on, but overall it was a success. For a book off of my top priority list, I read Malice. For series continuation, I have both Words of Radiance, which qualifies, and Liars Not. Both of these, both Liars Not and Words of Radiance, are also fulfilling books off of my physical TBR. For commitment read, I can count Words of Radiance, which is part of a Stormlight Archive read-along that I've been taking part in, or I can count Malice by John Gwynne, which was part of a kind of group buddy read that I was doing. And for mood read, I have Paladin's Grace. This is the one that I feel like I'm cheating a little bit on and stretching it because technically this is part of a T. Kingfisher readathon that I took part in. So it wasn't fully a mood read, it was kind of a book that I was in the mood for, but I do want to make sure in future months that I'm a little bit better about allowing space for books that just are completely me wanting to pick them up and not kind of spurred by anyone else. All of those books will be coming in a recent reads wrap up at some point, but for now let's get into the books that I want to read in August. I said in July that it was kind of an MBR with different options for each goal so that I could then mood read and still be a little bit more flexible with my reading, because that tends to be how I prefer to read. August is very much a TBR. I do need to actually read almost all of these books. They are pretty much, most of them are commitment reads, you'll kind of see as I go into it. So August is a bit stacked full, but I am hoping to get through some really exciting books. I also am going on a trip at the very beginning of August for my best friend's wedding celebration, which is something where I could end up reading a lot on the plane, but also something where I might not read at all. I don't really know kind of how that would play out, and I don't want to plan to spend my entire time there reading. So we shall see. August. It's gonna be a tough month, but hopefully there will be some good mood reading when I'm on a plane with lots of time to kill, and then the second half will be very productive, fingers crossed. Starting off with the first goal category, which is a book off of my top priority list. I will be sharing this list at some point soon, but the one that I'm including in August off of this list is Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. What I know about this essentially is that it's an epic scope, very large scale, Asian-inspired fantasy. I believe it's a reimagining of a Chinese dynasty. I've heard amazing things about this series in general. Next up, we have a series continuation, and for this one, I am definitely, guaranteed there will be absolutely nothing that will get in my way. Even if I read nothing else in August, I am reading this book, and that is Fury Song by Rosaria Munda, which is the third book in the Aurelian cycle, and just one of my all-time favorite series, pretty much, in the very, very top spots. I adore this series so much, and this is the trilogy conclusion. I'm really nervous and scared because I have a feeling that I will be put through the ringer, but also I trust Rosaria to just, do an impeccable job and make it the most perfect ending ever in a very bittersweet way, I'm sure. So I'm very excited for this one. Fun fact, it actually comes out on the exact day of my best friend's wedding celebration that's happening, so I was kind of joking with them about how I love them so much that this is the only thing that I would be willing to put off reading this book for. So if that tells you anything about how excited I've been for this release. I also put in this category that I could read Son of the Shadows by Juliette Marillier. This is the sequel to The Daughter of the Forest and part of a trilogy. They're kind of companion books more than they are direct sequels though. I loved Daughter of the Forest. As it stands right now, Daughter of the Forest is my favorite read of the year. It was just, it's a very atmospheric read. It's kind of lower fantasy, more of a historical fiction with a little bit more of a kind of just magical setting, which I didn't think would be my thing, but I love the characters and I just felt so much emotions while reading it. Juliette Marillier Marillier is just an incredible writer, so I'm excited to get into the next book. I have heard that nothing quite lives up to the first, so that's why I put it off for a little bit, but I feel like I've given it enough time that I will hopefully won't be directly comparing them and I can just enjoy it for what it is. I feel like this also would be a good one to potentially read on a plane, so this will be kind of in the first half of the month if I am feeling in the mood for it, but it's not one that I absolutely have to get to. For the next goal category, we have a book off of my physical TBR, and for that one, I am cheating a little bit because it's a book that I will be buying and then reading right away. Again, we've got Fury Song by Rosaria Munda. I just didn't have space in my August TBR for other books off of my physical TBR, which is definitely something I want to fix in later months because my goal is to get my TBR down to 0, but for now I will be buying this one. It would be kind of a physical TBR purchase, and then I will be getting it off of the physical TBR, so I'm thinking that counts anyway. Next up, we have the goal category of a mood read, and that for me could be Son of the Shadows, as I mentioned before, by Juliette Marillier. This is one that I'm kind of leaving up to myself to figure out what I'm in the mood for when traveling. I have another kind of fantasy romance on here, and that is Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I've just been really in the mood for lately. This one really calls to me. What I know about this is really not much. I know it has dragons, which no one ever talks about, but someone did tell me that, and I've been even more excited to get to it because who doesn't love dragons? I know it follows the daughter of a moon goddess. I don't really know the main plot. I know there's a love triangle. I know it's got good romance. I know it reads as kind of a standalone, so all of that, you know, just sounds good for maybe just a palate cleanser or pick me up if I want like a fast gripping read. And I know that people whose tastes I trust have really loved it. So that's enough for me. Another potential mood read is Flamefall, and that is the second book of the Aurelian cycle, and the book right before Fury Song, which again is the trilogy conclusion. This one would be a reread for me. In a perfect world, I would reread Fireborn, then Flamefall, and then get to Fury Song. I don't think I'm gonna have enough time for that, and I did reread Fireborn last year when I was leading up to the release. I think it was last year. Pretty sure it was last year, when it was leading up to the release of the second book, Flamefall, so I feel like that one's a little bit more cemented in my brain, and I can still just kind of give myself the reread of Flamefall to be fully back immersed in that world. This one would qualify as a mood read because I just am really excited to reread it, but I also have been thinking that I will allow myself to substitute any of the goals category with reread. And the reason for that is because I do want to make sure one of my goals is to prioritize more rereads in my reading year. I've actually not been able to do that more than one time this year. It's hard to find kind of space in TBRs when you have so many new books that you want to try and things that you're reading with other people, but I love rereading. It brings me a lot of joy, and there's favorite series of mine that I've just been dying to get back to, so I want to make sure again that I prioritize it. So in this case, it wouldn't be a substitute of a category, but I also, at any point in these kind of future TBRs, I feel like a reread will just qualify as its own goal. Hope that makes sense. And then we're on to the last goal setting category, and that is a commitment read. I actually have a lot of books in August that do need to be read that I have plans to read with someone else, so this is the most full category and also the most kind of strict category. So this is where my August TBR gets a little bit ambitious, but we're gonna do our best. First up, I have Legacy of the Brightwash, which is a book that I'm buddy reading with Yolene from Yolene Reads, and this is technically a buddy read, like I said, but it's also one that could qualify as a mood read because I've just been absolutely desperate to get to this book. I've been so excited about it. What I know about this is that it has incredible characters that you won't be able to stop thinking about. I know that the story will put you kind of through the emotional ringer. I know that the main plot kind of grapples with right and wrong and justice and law and the kind of nuances of that, which are all themes that I just absolutely love to explore in books. I believe it also follows some sort of murder mystery. I know I'm giving a lot of kind of very vague, not even synopses for these, more just keywords and vibes, but that tends to be how I go into books, so apologies. When I do wrap-ups, I will definitely have much more kind of detailed plots, and I will definitely be linking the books down below if you want to check them out and actually read the specific plot for yourself. As a character-driven reader, this is just kind of how my brain works. But yeah, super excited for this one, and can't wait to get to it. I also have on the commitment read list A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kay. This would be my first Guy Gavriel Kay book, and I'm excited but also a bit nervous because on the one hand he writes more historical fiction, which isn't usually kind of my genre at the moment, but on the other hand he is a favorite author of Kristen from Kristen is Fully Booked, whose taste I just absolutely trust. We're basically the same reader, and if she says that it's a good book for me to start with and one that I have a high potential of liking, I trust her. Kristen is actually running a read-along in August called August for Arbonne, where everyone is welcome and invited to join and read Song for Arbonne with her, and we will be probably having a live discussion, I believe, end of the month or beginning of September, and I plan to participate in that. So again, one that I need to get to and that I'm excited for. What I know about this so far is also pretty much just vibes. I know that it's a very lush setting. I know it has a lot to do with themes of music. Other than that, I think it's a very kind of slice of life, character driven, character moment sort of book as well, which does sound like something I would like. So that's pretty much all I've got for you, but I'm excited to try Gabrielle K and hopefully kind of find an author that I can then make my way through their backlist with. Another commitment read for August is Dragon Mage. This one is part of a book club called Femmes Afictionados. Femmes Afictionados is a new book club that was created by Hannah from Blackwell. I will link her announcement down below. And Kayla from Kay's Hidden Shelf is co-hosting. Hannah was kind enough to also invite me to co-host, and I absolutely love the idea of the book club. It's essentially focused around reading adult fantasy written by women, which is something that I want to make sure that I continue to prioritize in my own reading. So I'm going to do my absolute best to get to the book club picks each 2 months. It's a bi-monthly club. Again, all the information will be in the announcement video down below, but the first book is Dragon Mage, and this one we are reading for August and September. It is a 900-page book, so again, hopefully I can make it happen. It's a bit of a big one, but I've heard that it's also a kind of fast and gripping, engrossing read, and I'm hoping to do myself a favor and start it in August so that I can finish it off or kind of do the second half in September and break it up a little bit. And I'm excited. What I know about this is that it's a very kind of lauded classic fantasy. I know that it's, I believe, kind of a little bit standard in terms of its setup, where we have a boy who's an outcast in a village, taken to an academy to be trained to be a dragon rider, and then he's kind of the chosen one. That's what I'm getting from the synopsis, but I have heard absolutely rave reviews of it recently, and it sounds like one that will kind of surprise me beyond its basic premise, and I'm going off of recommendations on this one, but I have a good feeling. And then finally, for the commitments read category, like I said, I have a lot in this specific group. I am going to be also buddy reading Flamefall and Fury Song with Mary Beth from Mary Beth Dwells in Books. We have buddy read, I believe it was just Flamefall together, but it was an awesome experience. We both absolutely love this series, so I can't wait to reread Flamefall with her and then chat about Fury Song as we go into that epic conclusion. So those are all the books that I chose when goal setting my August TBR. A lot of these will be absolutely happening, like Legacy of the Brightwash, Fury Song, and that Flamefall reread, Song for Arbonne, starting Dragon Mage, hopefully so that future me has an easier time with it, and then the other kind of 2 to 3 are mood reads / books that I've just been really excited to get to. I have a really good feeling about this TBR. I'm excited about all of these books, and I have really high star predictions for them. I think they could all be new favorites potentially, so I'm really hoping to have a great reading month. I hope this method of kind of goal setting my TBR continues to be fun for you to watch. Let me know what you're planning to read in August down below. If you have any books that you're especially excited about, or any books that would fit into any of these kind of categories that I mentioned. Let me know if you're joining Kristen's August for Arbonne read-along, or if you are going to be taking part in the book club, Femmes Afictionados, and reading Dragon Mage with us. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.